The Galactic Council's chamber sensed alive, but no natural sound dared to disrupt the gathering seriousness. The walls had a slight glint, a bioluminescent glow casting shifting light patterns on the alien representatives occupying the curved chairs. At the crystalline podium in the center of the room, light lingered, scattering into innumerable hues. Alla Vance, the captain, stood with her jaw lowered, hands clutching her console's edges. She sensed their strange stares mysteriously penetrating her. The voice of the Supreme Arbiter, Vance of Earth, reverberated across the room. It was clearly cold-clipped. His lie-scaled figure loomed antagonistically from the topmost seat in the house. His blood-like crimson garments hung over his angular frame. "You have been given time to address the Council," the Arbiter announced. "In addition to that, your people's doom will be rapid." Alla drew a steadying breath, calming her voice. Her uniform was immaculately pressed, a stark white that seemed out of place in the galaxy's center of luxury and decay. Addressing the council members, she began her tone calmly but urgently. "Humanity is not as dangerous as you think us to be," she said. A whisper echoed across the chamber. Some voices were guttural, others clicking and high-pitched. The Arbiter's eyes narrowed, and he tapped his claws rhythmically on the console in front of him. "Talk as if your behavior hasn't already been criticized. Unchecked, your species spreads like a virus, wasting resources and ignoring the delicate equilibrium of our existence," he said. "The Council has seen your kind before." Alla's unflinching gaze met his. She had witnessed pieces of battles and miscommunications presented as damning evidence. "Humanity is more than the invasions and violence you decide to view us as," she countered. "We are builders and dreamers. This is not a declaration of war, but evidence of survival." From the corner of her eye, Alla noticed a subtle nod from Xylan, the Ventari representative. Among the delegates, Xylan's slender figure seemed to merge into the shadows. His silky blue garments and skin gave him an almost ethereal presence. "The Council has already decided on Earth's judgment," the Arbiter interjected before Alla could continue. His sharp voice cut through the murmurs, silencing them. "Enough sentimental phrases. Your species is on the brink of survival. Numerous worlds you have colonized lie barren, stripped of resources." Alla felt a wave of rage but maintained composure. Her voice was measured. "I won't deny humanity's mistakes. We've learned from them. Desperation is what you perceive as conquest, a motivation derived from the vulnerability of our homeworld. We can demonstrate our value not through annihilation, but collaboration." The chamber fell briefly silent. Alla's heart filled with a glimmer of hope. Then, a ruthless smile curved the Arbiter's lips. "Collaboration? Humanity speaks of solidarity when crafting weapons that could destroy entire moons. The Council cannot risk its safety for your hollow promises." Xylan moved in his chair, addressing the Arbiter in a calm but firm tone. "If humanity is as dangerous as you claim, why do they plead for peace instead of initiating an assault? Perhaps there is more to their narrative than we have allowed ourselves to see." The Arbiter's harsh glare turned on Xylan. "Your affection for this rudimentary species blinds you to their nature," he said coldly. Xylan inclined his head slightly. "And your hatred blinds you to their potential." Alla seized the moment. "If you want to evaluate humanity's future, then assess us fairly, permit an investigation, a chance to prove that our alliances are not threats." Laughter devoid of warmth rippled through the room. "Captain, you fail to grasp the Council's decision. Your presence here is nothing more than politeness," the Arbiter declared. A red glowing holographic glyph emerged, the universal emblem of disapproval. "Humanity will be eliminated," the Arbiter announced. Ayla's breath caught. Guards flanked her before she could object. Their metallic exoskeletons moved with precision, "Your vessel is waiting," one of them said in a contemptuous tone. As Ala was escorted from the room, her gaze met Zealand's. His face was full of silent determination. In the hallway outside, she tightened her resolve. Humanity had been denounced, but the battle for survival was far from over. The ship's thrusters briefly flared before softly guiding them into the twilight asteroid field. When the ship maneuvered, despite the enormous rocks, the crew remained concentrated at all times. The ship's hull groaned every now and then, a reminder of the vulnerability of their status. "Zion's schematics are entered into the fabrication unit," Marisol, the chief engineer, said. Alvea's voice had a hint of hope. "If the resources hold, we can begin constructing the EMP apparatus." Thea turned to her right. "How long?" Marisol hesitated. "Give me 48 hours, give or take. But testing it is a different matter altogether." Thea sadly nodded. "Do what you can. The hazards will be addressed later." The vessel was broken up by the gentle radar beeps. The crew's movements were exact and deliberate at every stage. Thea's calculations flashed across her thoughts. Unforeseen circumstances and the constant truth of their diminishing time lingered in her mind. "Captain," Amir said, shattering her thoughts, "I believe we've discovered something. Small variations on the field's edge. It might be trash or the guts of a scout ship." Thea's jaw tightened. She moved to see the display spring to life, revealing a little alien spacecraft avoiding the outskirts of the asteroid field. Its sleek, dark hull reflected no light, designed for stealth. As Thea had feared, Marisol whispered, "A scout ship is searching for us." "They won't find us," Thea said in a stern voice. "Turn off all non-essential systems and maintain silence." The lights on the bridge dimmed as the auxiliary system's subtle hum faded. The crew fell silent, observing the scout ship's movements with bated breath. The craft swept its sensors throughout the field methodically, lingering far longer than expected. It seemed like forever before it eventually swerved and vanished. The crew released their collective breath into the blackness, tension easing slightly. "They'll return," Amir said softly, "and they won't arrive alone." Thea's face stiffened. "Then we complete the gadget before they do." The hours merged into one as the crew worked overtime. In the ship's cramped fabrication bay, the EMP device started to form. Its essential elements glowed faintly with energy. Marisol took control, her hands moving deftly in the assembly. "This will produce a pulse powerful enough to interfere with their AI core," she explained. Her voice had a hint of pride. "But delivering it is another story." Thea examined the device, its elegant appearance belying its enormous strength. "Rest assured we'll figure it out." Marisol's confidence wavered. "Captain, even if we use this, there is no assurance that the fleet will halt. They might strike back more forcefully." Thea placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's a risk we must take. If we don't make an effort, the alternative is far worse." The engineer nodded, her determination returning. When the crew assembled in the briefing room, Thea described their strategy. The holographic screen displayed the trajectory of the alien armada, a sea of red dots converging toward Earth. "Our target is here," Thea said, pointing to the command ship. "The AI core," she continued. "The EMP will require access to their defensive perimeter, which denotes a direct intrusion." A whisper echoed through the room. Amir folded his arms. "Captain, getting that close is suicide. Their barriers will rip us apart before we even arrive," Thea replied. "We'll use the asteroid field's interference to conceal our movements. Once we're inside, a small team will infiltrate the command vessel and deploy the device." Marisol asked hesitantly, "Who will be on that team?" Thea already knew the answer. "I will." "Captain," Amir protested, "I must be the one to do this. The mission needs accuracy. I won't put anyone else at risk." Thea shook her head. "If we fail, They will be better off losing one captain than an entire engineer or strategist. The room fell silent. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but no one protested further. The tension became evident on the ship as their shield, the asteroid field, offered temporary cover. The constant risk of detection loomed over them. "Amir," Thea said, breaking the silence, "keep the ship secure. If something goes wrong, return to Earth and warn them." Amir nodded, but the weight of her words clearly unsettled him. With quiet resolve, Thea entered the shuttle. The EMP weapon was secured in the cargo bay as the countdown to their risky operation began.